maybe we are. Okay, so it looks like... Okay, it's grabbing audio. Cool. And we are going... Connect stream, go live. I think we're live. No? Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
I think we're live. So I will give everyone a minute to get in here. But anyone that is in chat, please let me know right away if you can hear my audio and Uncle Jesse's audio, because last time we had some technical difficulties where about 8 minutes in I realized you guys couldn't hear the other person. So I haven't changed anything as far as audio settings go, but let me know if you guys can hear both myself and Uncle Jesse here before we even get into it, because I'll try not to repeat that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the best thing in the world, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah, let me see.
So edit out the first half of the podcast because there was no audio.
Right? Which that's basically what I did. Let's see.
Basically.
We are live now. Let me post this really quick, too. Oh. All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Hi, all. Audio sounds good. Sounds Gucci. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll just start running it then. Well, welcome everybody to Maker's Minute, episode 3. Really excited to have you guys all here on this Wednesday night. Maker's Minute is a podcast that I started in January, and the goal of this podcast is to highlight people in the making community doing awesome things, whether it's 3D printing, CNC laser, cosplay. I mean, all things just doing and making. There's a lot of really cool creators out there, some that I've been following, some that you guys have been telling me about, and on this episode we've got Uncle Jesse here, who is awesome because first off, he's on the East Coast. It is Wednesday night, it is 10 o'clock, and this man is sitting in front of a camera, so thank you for joining us.
This is my time to shine, so to speak. This is after perfect. My wife is asleep, my kids are asleep. This is when I get everything done. This is when I record the videos. This is when I work on my projects. This is when I continue to do work sometimes, most of the time.
You are a beast. So yeah, thank you for joining us. If you guys don't know Uncle Jesse, he is a awesome content creator. I've been watching his stuff for quite a while. He's been doing a ton of 3D printing stuff. He's done cosplay stuff. I know he's got history in Xbox world of video games and things like that. And I've been a huge fan. Your editing and your energy, man, is just insane. Like it's so great.
You got to be on these videos, man. You just got to snap it on. You got to just turn the personality up just like a few notches there. That's all.
An 8 to a 10 or something like that, you know?
That's right.
So thank you very much for joining us. I'm really excited to have you on here.
No, I'm super excited to be here. I'm excited that you've started this up, to be honest. One thing that I love doing just in my videos is calling out awesome content creators, whether it's other video makers or more specifically people that are making awesome files or working on cool projects and sharing it. And that's exactly, you sort of distilled that down into one cool thing where you can zero in and focus on particular creators and that's, make people aware of them, which is pretty cool.
Definitely the goal. Yeah, thank you, man. And that's definitely one thing I've noticed is that you do a really good job in your videos of always giving credit to whoever created the models that you're working with or anything like that, which is awesome. I definitely try to do that as much as I can, but you do a damn good job of making sure that like the person's name is there, the model's there, and then like even linking back to them. So it's super cool that you do that, man.
I try to be as diligent as possible when giving credit where credit is due, because I certainly do not have the skills. I'm attempting. I keep saying I'm going to attempt to learn how to do modeling, and I am playing around with some tools, but man, it's going to take me at my pace. It'll be another 6 years before I can ever actually model out anything really cool.
It's a stretch. It's a stretch goal more than or it's a relay more than a sprint, right? It's a long-term goal. Yeah,
that's right.
When you have been playing around with it a bit, what is it that you've been, what have you been using? I know that like, it seems like a lot of the stuff that you like is going to be more in the organic world. So have you been trying like Blender type stuff, or what have you been playing around with a little bit?
You know what? Funny enough, because Blender is open source and it's free, that I would have thought would have been my go-to, but no, I went down right down the rabbit hole of let's get in ZBrush and
dude.
let me throw down their subscription. I think I paid for 3 months now of their subscription. I bought the 6 month package I
Yeah.
think they had. I've probably used it 4 times since I picked it up. It's
Damn.
horrible.
Damn.
But it's what's really cool is yes, yeah. I mean that's what I do want to focus in on, and I've already picked up a whole bunch of tutorials that I've bought previously, and
Nice.
I just haven't jumped into it. But what I have been playing around with that I have a video that I'm working on is designing on my iPad. So I'm in
Nice.
the whole Apple ecosystem. I'm totally sucked into that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I love the iPad and the Apple Pencil, and there's some really cool apps on there. So I'm going to be trying to showcase some of the different apps and their options that you can work with on the iPad, which is
Nice,
pretty
man.
fun. Yeah.
I for the iPad then, if you're using the pencil, it's the like the Pro version, right? I think that's what.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. One
Yeah.
of
So
my
there's. Yeah. Go for it.
Oh, well, let's say one of my coworkers that is a not a 3D modeler, but a like 2D oil on canvas. He picked up an iPad Pro and has been doing a lot of digital design. Again, not 3D at work a little
Yep.
bit, but for the side stuff, it's all 2D art. But he's been like completely mind blown by what his iPad can do. It's like replaced a huge chunk of what he was doing on a computer
I'm
before.
I'm amazed. There's just for a digital design, probably the biggest, most popular app that's surpassed Adobe at this point is Procreate on
Yep.
the
Yep.
on the iPads. It's an amazing app, and I'm blown away. I think I follow at least 3 or 4 different YouTube content creators that are just doing Procreate drawings
It's
and sharing
insane.
their drawing, and it's like time lapse of their drawings, and it's just stuff that I find so inspirational to watch.
Yeah.
I'm, man, I wish I had those skills. But what I think is wild to me, and I'm gonna sound like an a-hole for a second here, but I got my youngest son who's 8 an iPad for Christmas,
Yeah.
and he loves drawing. And
Nice.
so I specifically got him that. And with the in Procreate, they have an animation function. So it's very basic, but he is every day making different animations. And from, end of December till to now, he's probably got about 100 different animations that he's created, and they're
Awesome.
wild. They're
Yeah.
hugely creative. And I'm like, we're
Insane.
not big into sports. We're big into tech and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's cool to see him really digging in and loving this, that he, can very easily pick this up. It's not a huge computer program you have to learn. It's
No.
super intuitive.
Well,
It's wild.
that's really cool. I mean, the thing is too, at if he's at 8 years old doing a lot of drawing and playing around with that kind of stuff, like that's awesome, man. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of kids that have iPads and things like that, they're primarily just using it for like gaming and stuff like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because I did.
Roblox. That's my other son's house.
Yeah,
Playing.
yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, I mean, my parents gave me a hand-me-down computer when I was pretty young, and granted, I did play a lot of games on it on floppy disks. I mean, it was like a Windows 98, I think, but I mean, it's still like I learned a lot of things about computers, and I would say that by just giving me access to that at such a young age, it's certainly shaped my ability to be able to learn new technologies as I've gotten older. So, no, that's super cool. I have a coworker that is incredibly talented with 3D design. He's done a lot of Star Wars props. I know that he's got like a full set head to toe Mandalorian costume he's been working on, and it's super cool, man. And yeah, it's very awesome. And he started off doing Fusion 360, and then his girlfriend for, I think it was Christmas, maybe his birthday, got him a ZBrush license. And so he recently gave me, he said, hey man, I've got this like older tablet. I don't know if you'd want to use it, but he recently gave me this little like starter bamboo
Nice.
tablet.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he was like, hey man, like it's not, very good, but like if you don't have anything, it might be fun to play around with. So I've actually been meaning to, again, with 3D modeling, I've got really, this 3D printing space has gotten me into it, but I don't think that I necessarily have the ability to do some of this, like the organic stuff that I've seen people do. Like, I mean, there's tons of people, but like seeing things like Travis and Chaos Cortec, like Garrett Chelsea,
man, they're
all,
amazing.
dude, the stuff they do, man, I see that and I'm like,
amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing. Did you see that they just designed some sort of like monster, and it had huge horns,
Yes,
and they printed it, I
yes.
think, on the
Phenom, man.
Yeah,
Yup,
yeah, and
yup.
painted.
It's so badass, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just looks so incredible.
No,
and here I am, I'm like, meh, I was like, yeah, it looks like a wrinkly wart. I don't know what I just.
Yeah, it's like that latest model they did was like freaking metal, dude. It's definitely like on my to-do list of things to print out. But you know, I do think that I could still have fun with just playing around with things. But for me, it's been at least nice learning a bit of Fusion 360 for like just functional things. You know, like I
Yeah,
like
that's
brackets.
the best thing to learn right there.
Yeah, like the blue thing behind me is a laser I picked up not long ago, and I wish I have all these ideas for it, but I at least was able to 3D print out like custom vents that I designed, like to mount a inline air assist to like pull air out of the apartment window, so that way I don't fume me and my girlfriend out, and you know, so like it's really cool being able to do simple stuff like that, and when I talk to some people that are trying to get into 3D printing, they're like, yeah, but I can't do like, you know, I can't make things. I'm like, you can certainly do things in the Fusion 360, and I don't know ZBrush as far as how big the community is, but with Fusion 360, man, because so many people have access to it, there's a lot of really good tutorials and
Yeah,
content,
I
and
mean
you know,
it's amazing. What's funny is I think it was last year. What was it? I picked up a free trial of ZBrush, and then I went out and bought some, like, I don't know, a tutorial course for ZBrush, and I started going through a handful of them.
hmm
I didn't realize how many there's like hour-long YouTube videos of how to do different skills and
yeah,
sets and different things. And then what's it? Sorry, I'm losing track of
no, no
the
worries.
guy's name here. Is as I'm pulling up my phone, very very rude. But Dark Knight FX, that's who
Mm,
it was. I follow on Instagram, who makes these amazing Red Hood costumes and sells those, finishes them, and all this other crazy stuff.
hmm
He started using ZBrush, and he said, "Oh, I just spent. There's a helmet tutorial." And he's like, "It's literally every step that you're going to take to designing a helmet that you can
Yep.
wear." And he was like, "I went through that and just practiced for like 5 weeks straight."
Yeah.
And he made his own amazing helmet. And I was like, "All right, this is it. I'm
Yeah.
sold. I'm picking this back up again. I'm gonna learn this." And I still haven't touched it.
But you had that moment of inspiration, you know. You're like, I've
Yeah,
got
yeah,
this. Like, if I can do it, yeah.
yeah.
It's it's funny because like with YouTube and I mean all video platforms, it's such a powerful tool to be able to learn a skill, whether it's you know editing or whether it's you know like my girlfriend French braiding. You know, like there's so
Yeah,
many things that
it's
you can learn.
crazy
It's
what's on there.
awesome, man.
I
But
was gonna
yeah,
say, do you know for your little tablet there, the bamboo tablet? What
uh
would
huh.
be awesome for you to try that out with is, are you familiar with Billy Rubin over on Twitter?
Yeah, I
So
do follow her on Twitter. Yeah.
she posted on Reddit 6 months ago or a year ago or so, like that, on the 3D printing community. There is a free web-based tool that's super easy to use. It's Sculpt GL, I think it's
Huh.
called
I'll
Sculpt
write that
GL.
down.
And it's all through the browser, and it's like a dumbed down version of ZBrush,
Yeah.
and it works super well. It looks like it works really, really well. I've been also playing around with that a good
Yeah.
bit, and it's really fun to not have to have any overly complicated software that you're working with. It's really
Sure.
straightforward. It's like one of those iPad apps, but it's
Yeah.
directly on your browser,
That's
which is
awesome.
really cool.
Well, that's cool
Yeah.
too because it doesn't need any like serious processing power if you've got something you know that you just want to play around with it on, you know.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's probably got some limitations in terms of how
Yeah,
complex you can get
yeah.
things.
It's I'm sure it's not ZBrush. Otherwise, ZBrush should be out of
Yeah.
business, you know. But still, just to kind of like to get a little bit of that organic sculpting and just kind of see how it all works and stuff like that.
For somebody that might be interested and doesn't want to drop whatever, well, I don't even remember how much it's not cheap.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
to
pretty
jump
penny,
into
man.
Zebra, or I've have installed Blender before, and I opened up Blender and I was like, this is
Overly complicated, right?
there's way too much stuff
Yep.
going on here, and I have no idea what's going on.
Years ago when I first was getting into 3D printing, because I got my first printer like 6 years ago, and for the first couple years I was pretty much like just thingiverse, dude. Like I was
Yeah.
learning the machines, and I was like, wow, I want this for my like this mount for my controllers. Oh, here's a cool headphone mount. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, no, I need to. There's things that I want to make that just don't exist out there. I've got to be able to at least do some stuff. So I went through this phase of trying all these different 3D modeling softwares out, because there wasn't really a standard at that point that I felt meshed with 3D printing. Like it was like 123D Design. There was SketchUp some people were using. There was Tinkercad was certainly I believe still available, but I downloaded Blender because that always came up under 3D modeling. A lot of times, at least back then, the 3D modeling software, it didn't differentiate between like, are you trying to make like little functional hard surfaces or organic? So it just had a list of like best free, you know. So I downloaded Blender, and I, like you mentioned, I opened it up, and I think that I uninstalled it within like 24 hours. Dude, it's just because of the fact that it, like, you know, it's for animation as well. Like it does so much shit like with inside of it. But I've heard, and I haven't re-downloaded it because, again, like maybe a little bit of intimidation or just Fusion's my go-to now. But I've heard that they've revamped it and made it where there's a new version that's kind of more simplified and easier to work with. So I mean, it might be worth. Like, you've got ZBrush, so I would say, you know, use that. You paid for it.
Yeah, but I you know, I'm always if it's free, I'm gonna try it out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm a bit stingy when it comes to the money. So
So no, I mean, you've got to be. Things are expensive, and you got to figure out where you want to spend it. But so just one question: since you said you did ZBrush for 6 months, do they have a permanent buy, or no? It's only like
they do.
Okay,
they do. They still have a standard license, which is, I want to say it's like $900 or something like that. And it gets you the current version and then one upgrade from that, or something, something like along those lines.
Yeah.
But then obviously the subscription model, you continuously, it's cheaper, and then you pay as you go, and you're always on the latest, the latest version, which worked. It worked well for me. I was like, I am not dropping $900 on
something you
software.
might not.
I will gladly pay you. Yeah, I was like, I'll give you whatever it is, like $150 for 6 months.
Last question I have regarding ZBrush: is it going to work with your iPad? Is that kind of your plan, so that you can use the Apple Pencil integrated with it?
I'm so happy that you asked that, and this wasn't coached or anything like that. By the way, this is very organic. So this I'm holding up this little USB-C, and apologies that the chair I'm sitting in is creaking like, you know what?
Dude, it's all good.
I'm holding up the little USB-C device for my Mac, and this allows me to stream from my MacBook directly to my iPad and use my iPad, the touch capabilities, as a screen. So I can use basically what I can do is put ZBrush on my iPad, stream it to my iPad, and then use the stylus and directly do it on the screen. And that's what I've been doing with everything, and it's awesome. So.
It's pretty seamless. Like, there's not a lot of lag or delay between the.
There's almost no delay.
That's pretty awesome.
And there's a cheaper version of this. I think this is called a Luna display for anybody that's interested in it. The company's AstroPad, so they have an app that you can basically download on your iPad. You don't need one of these little chips, but this sort of enhances the whole thing.
Awesome.
But it's you can either tether it directly, so using one of the cables from your laptop to the iPad, and it's a pretty seamless experience, which is wild.
It's funny whenever I'm talking about a product at work or something like that, and I'm like, I get really hyped on it, and I'm like, this isn't even a sales thing, but use code Daniel at checkout for 3% off. I do that all the time with things, just because when I get really pumped on something, it sounds like a sales pitch, but I'm like, I think I get it from my dad, because my dad's very much like, he's talking about anything, man. And you're like, dude, you're talking about like a mac and cheese you tried, bro. Like, you're so pumped. But
you know what's funny is my one of my buddies from college messaged me today, and he was like, hey, what's your Amazon affiliate link? I'm about to buy some stuff. I was like, oh, hold on, let me drop everything and send that to you.
It's so funny, man. Yeah, I do that. I literally do that all the time, where I'm like talking about something, and like, I'm not affiliated with it at all, but I'm like, use code, use code modbot at checkout. So anyways, doing a little bit of backtracking here. So I probably became aware of your channel at this point a couple of years ago, but I think you've been making videos for quite a long time, right?
Yeah. I actually originally had another YouTube channel that was focused on cosplay, funny enough.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And then this one started up as an Xbox channel. So I was like, hey, I don't want to put I don't want to mix content. I want to
Yeah.
do dedicated Xbox channel and a dedicated cosplay replica prop making channel. And then my Xbox channel slowly morphed away from Xbox and into 3D printing
Uh-huh.
and into this now. Now I'm just like, I don't care. I'm gonna record whatever I want to record and put it up on there. Forget
Yep.
what the algorithm says. I'm just gonna record what I'm interested in, and hopefully somebody will be interested in it.
Yeah, that's pretty much where
But
I've
yeah,
gotten to is just if I enjoy it, hopefully somebody that's subscribed to me will also enjoy it, you know.
that's my thinking is, you know what, if I'm enjoying something, I want to share that with
Yeah.
people, and someone will end up finding it. I know they always say, like, stick to your niche, whatever your content is,
Yeah.
don't deviate from that. I can tell you, I will get bored making. If I was just doing me personally, if I
Yeah.
was just doing 3D stuff, I'm going to get bored of that. That's why I'm right now playing around with 3D design and modeling. And I'm going to be doing a video on iPad apps. And
Yep.
I'm sure I'm going to get lots of comments that I don't have an iPad. I
Yep.
don't have a tablet. Why are you doing these videos? Because I'm interested in these
Yeah.
videos. Because
No.
I'm not finding other content out there that I'm looking for on YouTube. And so I'm going to make some content and share
Yeah.
it out there. So it's,
No,
you know.
that's rad. With the so when you got into it with the Xbox stuff that you were doing, was you doing mostly new stuff or tutorials, or what kind of stuff were you doing back when you originally got
Yeah,
into it?
actually, one of my top videos is right when the Xbox One came out. I made a video on how to resync your Xbox controller to
The
your
Xbox One.
Xbox. And it's like a 1 minute video, and yeah, it's like a 1 minute video, and it's got ads on it, which is
Yeah.
wild to me. And I'm not in this to make money
No.
by any means.
No.
Like, this is I'm not quitting I have a day job, and
Yeah.
not quitting that anytime soon. But it's funny to me how much that 1 minute video has made.
Yeah.
When in my mind I was like, oh, I ran into an issue. I have no idea how to sync my controller back to the Xbox, and I was like, this has pretty much paid for an Xbox One at this point.
Yeah. It's insane,
It's
man.
stupid in some
Yeah.
of these things. It's wild, but yeah, it was just really all about. I think I was doing Xbox fitness videos at the time, so they had a fitness app, and I was super hyped about that. About
Yeah.
doing, love the app where it would record your motion and tell you if you were doing the exercise wrong. I could compete against friends or other people. They had achievements lined up with it. I do a lot of gaming as well
Yeah.
as everything else, so that hasn't stopped by any means. I just haven't made videos on gaming in a while, but
Did you start with the one, or did you start like when you were making content? Did you start on the one, or did you do some 360 stuff prior to that?
no, it really, prior to that, it was pretty much all Pepakura cosplay stuff. So I
Okay.
was doing on my old channel, which is, it was, I don't even think I had like a channel name for it at the time.
Yeah.
I was doing all Pepakura tutorial videos. So I was trying to make a Magneto helmet out of paper and Bondo and all that other stuff. So doing video progress, because there at the time there wasn't a lot of that. And at the time, 3D printers were few and far between. I think it
Yeah.
was like MakerBots. The early versions of the MakerBots were
Pretty
around at
expensive
that
for
point.
desktop stuff. But
Yeah, hugely expensive, really small. Lots of tinkering involved with that, which I was trying to avoid at all possible costs. Like,
Yeah.
I think everything at that point I remember reading was, all right, you're going to get this kit, and then you have to spend the next 12 hours assembling
Yeah,
and
man.
troubleshooting. I was like, I want nothing to do with that.
That sounds terrible. Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
literally, my first 3D printer was the MakerBot Mini, and it was because I bought it, was because it was literally take it out of the box, plug it
Print.
in,
Yep.
and you can start printing with it. As crappy as the machine was,
Yeah.
it got me going down a path that
Yeah.
is
You got bit,
snowballed
man.
since then.
Yeah, you got bit by the bug, man. For those people that don't know, because cosplay is something that I certainly did not grow up with, and as I've gotten older, I've always been a big gamer. Like N64,
Yeah.
my dad got me when I was little, I was very little actually, and then ever since then it was like PS1, PS2, PS3, 360. I mean, I've had pretty much. Now I'm mostly on PC, but I've always been a huge fan of video
Nice.
games, and was even collecting like before I had to get rid of it all, but I had a collection of like 1,000 cartridge-based games just like 6 years ago. I went out and I loved it, man. It was so fun. But for people that don't really know cosplay stuff, I've heard of it's Pepakura is what it's called.
Yeah. So Pepakura is it's like it's a 3D file that someone has there's a software called Pepakura Designer that 99% of everybody uses.
Yeah.
You take the 3D file and it will generate a pattern, a flat pattern for you, so that you can actually print this on multiple sheets of paper. And then you cut it all out, and then you basically glue everything together. Do I have? Oh, hold on. Oh my
Okay.
gosh. So here is an Iron Man helmet that
Oh,
I made
nice.
once upon a time, all in Pepakura. So this was all cardstock paper. You just use an X-Acto knife, cut out everything. It's all numbered along each of the places, and then you just match up the numbers and glue it together.
That's
And it
awesome.
takes a lot of time, and it was very therapeutic for me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
After like long hard days of work to sit down and just put on some music and do this, which was really fun. And then you basically just coat it in a number of different, it's like I think a resin, and then I know I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. I know I put Bondo down on these things, and then would just sand and sand and sand and sand. So it was a whole process before I was ever doing any 3D printing wise. And there's still people that do it today, and I love it. But
I actually, so when starting when getting into 3D printing, that's when I first heard of that term before, and like I'd actually never seen one done like that. But I know that one time I was out and about, and somebody was showing off a 3D printed helmet, and they asked that they were talking to someone that knew cosplay stuff, and asked if it was based off of like Pepakura, and it was like it was printed and it was an STL, but it was still based off that, and it kind of had that like polygon-esque look to it, where the folds would have been if you made it on paper or something like that.
there are definitely people that will take, let's say, like a video game file. They'll direct go on a video game. They'll get the file. It'll get turned into a Pepakura STL file.
Yeah.
And you could, I think someone will end up modifying it, but it's all sorts of low poly, and that's exactly right. I've definitely seen people that have shared files on Thingiverse or printed things, and it's all sorts of janky looking because it's meant for Pepakura. Or this is almost the same process that they'll use for a lot of the foam things. So someone can make a foam template doing the exact same. So I can model something in 3D, bring it into Pepakura, and then flatten it all out, and it's going to create pattern.
Like I typically describe as like a hamster on a wheel, just like going, or almost like a chipmunk, you know, like, oh, I'm over here, now I'm over here. And so there's definitely times where if I'm really, really into a project, like I can sit down and spend hours and hours working on it. But for things like prop finishing, man, like just watching again, like some of the channels, like Garrett and Chelsea with their stuff from model to sand to airbrush to all that, and then some of my colleagues that I've seen doing prop making, and that's really long. That to me seems insane. Like the amount of time, like you have to love it. You have to love it. That's the only way you would do that, man.
It's really, really crazy. I mean, that's why I've getting anytime that I make a video on a prop, I will get people asking, "Hey, can you make me one?" No, I'm not.
It's like, hell no.
Way too long. Even if I did, if I got around to, let's say, mold making, and I made a mold of a helmet, like the Magneto helmet, I would maybe sell casts, but I would not spend the time to further sand and do all the painting and finishing. Oh, it's really enjoyable when I'm going through it, but man, it's like sometimes I'll think about starting up a project, and it's just this. That is going to take a serious amount of time to actually do.
No, I've got a list of I think it's probably about 65 video ideas, and I started off with just in my head, then I went to whiteboard, and now I just use a to-do list app, right? And so anytime I'm out and about, if I see something, I'm like, that would be a great idea, or if I think of it, like, that's a great video idea. I have this curated list, but there's things on that list that have been on there for years, and the reason why I haven't done them is because I'm like, dude, like once I start this, there's no going back. Like, this is gonna take like time and money and like all these things. So there's definitely like certain things that I'm sure you too have, things that you'd like, oh god, I'd love to do that, but holy cow, like I am not prepared to invest that much time and energy and effort into something, man.
It's nuts. I was gonna ask, how many video projects do you think that you've started but never published?
Oh, quite a lot, man. Quite a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, and then there's other ones where I did start them and I did publish. Like there's one. It's sitting over here like taunting me, but the ANET A8, man. I mean, I bought that thing
Huh?
3 or 4 years ago and did all the basic mods to it. But I told myself like it'd be a fun series to like do the conversion where I make it all aluminum frame and basically swap everything, print out all the parts, do
Yeah.
all the custom board and stuff like that. Dude, I started that video. The first video went live like 2.5 years ago. It's still sitting there in my room, just looking at me because it's so time consuming, man. Like being messing with the custom firmware and it's so yeah. There's some that I even have posted like, hey, here's this thing, and then people will comment on it. Where's the follow up to this? And I'm
Yeah.
like, it doesn't exist.
I've definitely been in that same boat before, where it's like, oh, let me start on this project. I recorded it. I've started editing. Maybe I posted, and it's like there's no follow through. And it's not that I don't want to.
No, of course
For
not.
me, a lot of time it's like, oh, I've already started on like another project, so let me start on this
Yep.
project, and then oh wait, I didn't finish this other project.
Yep. No, I'm also I'm pretty a king of like kind of biting off more than I can chew. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing, and then I'm gonna do that thing as well. And I look at everything, and I'm like, I'm not super content where any of these things are right now. Like these aren't finished. And the thing that's tough, and I've come to terms with. A lot of times on a lot of projects, I don't truly ever think that they're finished. There's always like when you're doing a project, man, it's like most of the time you get somewhere along the way and you're like, oh god, if I did this again, I could do this differently or do that differently. But you've got to come to terms with the fact that like, no, it's good enough. Like I'm content with this.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Completely agree, because or else you're gonna like you'll just keep picking away at it, and at
Yeah.
a certain point, like I don't want to. I want to start on something fresh and something new, and maybe learn something new, and not just keep not feel like I'm stuck in the same cycle or rut of working on one project over and over and over.
Yeah.
And maybe it might be, obviously completely different for different people. I'm sure
Yeah,
there's some people
everyone's
who are like,
different.
I'm starting on this project and I'm going to see this project through, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to start the next project until this project's finished.
Dude, I'm those
Yeah,
people.
I'm like, all right, I'm printing this thing and printing this thing. I might start on this thing. Oh, what's that? Let
Yeah.
me print that.
No,
Drop everything.
it's really funny how people are wired so differently, but yeah, that's definitely more my realm of things. And have you ever, because I've done this before too, where I'm working on a project and it's going along and it's in a good place, and then I get this idea of no, but I want to do this, and this to it, and then realistically, when I get to the end of that, I look back and I'm like, shit, it was in a good place when I like you. It's almost
Shouldn't have-
overkill,
Yeah.
man. You get to a point, you're like, dude.
I've ruined some of the props that I've made, or not ruined, but in my mind, I got to a point and I was happy with it, and then I was like, oh, well, let me try to take it to the next level and add like a different finish to it. And I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that.
Yep. Yeah. I have a major issue with getting like hyping myself up on something and thinking like, no, I've got to do this now. And then like it's almost like an impulsive thing. Like you're doing it. And then afterwards you sit back and you're kind of just shaking your head and like, why didn't you sleep on this, man? Like, why didn't you, like this is a project you spent so much time on. Why did you rationally decide that you were going to drill a hole into the side of it to add LEDs that it didn't need to have, or, something like that, man? It's just, I'd like to think that as time progresses, I get a little bit better and say, okay, this idea sounds great, but let's sit on it for 24 hours and see how it sounds tomorrow, But there's times, man, where it's still just, I'm diving
right
in
into
head
it.
first. Yeah. And afterwards, I'm like, throw me a vest, or something like
Well,
that, man.
you know what's actually good as well is you can turn those around in some cases into teachable moments for if you're working on that as a project, explaining what that issue was. Hey, I should have stopped here. Maybe you want to consider this in the future. I always say these things, but it's it usually ends up that video is not airing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's insane, man. Okay, so I've got, let's see, I've got a bunch of just random questions I wrote down, which we're like kind of hitting on a lot of them just organically.
Cool.
But so you mentioned that you did YouTube, started with cosplay stuff.
Yeah.
When did you? How long ago did you start doing like almost a full transition from steering away from more of like Xbox content? And I know you still do some stuff because I still try to incorporate like a little bit of like because mine started off, I didn't really mention, but it was a video game repair, like Xbox repair
awesome.
for like Red Ring of Death repair there,
Yeah.
like reset glitch hack, JTAG stuff. Like I started off with all that, and then I kind of just got like how you mentioned, if you just do one thing, you get burnt out. I felt like I ate everything there was to eat with this console's hackability and customization and stuff like that, and so that's kind of how I got into 3D printing, and I still try to spice a little bit of, if I ever can, like video game related stuff here and there, like whether it's a cool prop or like a Nintendo Switch 3D printed thing, or
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and I saw you did too. You printed out the Xbox 360, like the wheel thing for the controller a while back,
Oh,
which is
oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
super cool, dude. Like
That's yeah.
that thing was rad, man.
That's it's wild. It was wild. That's such an awesome design,
Yeah,
and I mean that blew up on Reddit.
yeah,
And I mean I'm not ashamed to say I'm like on Reddit way too much, and all over everything on
yeah.
there. And now even my wife's on Reddit, which is
Oh
crazy.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a whole
Oh,
family
yeah,
downward
yeah.
spiral. We're all it's not
That's
good.
funny, man.
So, or what's really bad now is it's like we have nothing to talk about. She's like, "Oh, I saw this thing." I was like, "Yeah, I already saw it."
Oh, you already know that. So you guys
Yeah,
are following some of the same subreddits that it sounds like
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Or, yeah,
That's fun.
part of my daily routine actually is in the morning I get up and I refresh the 3D printing subreddit just to see if there's anything like mind blowing that's. And I've seen some stuff on there where I'm like, holy shit! And so Reddit's something that I definitely kind of started getting more of a lurker, to be perfectly honest with you. I do post some stuff on there, but usually if it's something I'm working on for the channel and I post on there, Reddit does not like any self promotion whatsoever. So
Oh,
yeah, like if it's just like a
you gotta
random
be.
like
It's like
yeah,
it's
it's
gotta
a
be really
dance.
cool.
Yeah, Reddit's like if social medias are some kind of a dance, you've got to really watch your moves with Reddit, man. So but I do enjoy a lot of the content and some of the discussion that goes down on Reddit. I think there's some really cool, funny stuff and really just wow, that's super cool stuff on Reddit.
I've actually there's only one subreddit that I've been banned from, and that's the Marvel subreddit, which
Oh
is brutal for
yeah,
me.
uh
Absolutely brutal. No learning whatsoever. Mods like banned. No, no, nothing. No, nothing. I had posted my Deadpool. Like at the time that I had made my Deadpool video, I
yep,
posted a GIF. It wasn't even. I didn't link to my video.
yeah.
Didn't do anything. Like I posted a GIF of the Deadpool mask, and they immediately it had like 2,000 upvotes or something like
Jeez,
that,
man.
and then a mod came on and banned me
It's
for
insane,
posting.
dude. It's there is because like since they're all ran independently basically like by their mods, some of them are super laid back while some are so hardcore. Like I know there's some too where again kind of similar stuff. I'm just posting a some guide or some info on something and it doesn't link back to my YouTube channel or anything like that, but they want you to like first like get more involved, like start commenting on other people's things or promote other people's things first. And like I certainly understand certain elements of it that if it just becomes a major like a bulletin board for just people trying to self promote, like that's not what it's intended for. But there's some dude that are just brutal, man. Like I'm like, okay, well,
Oh yeah.
a simple like takedown and just saying like, hey, this is our requirements. We know you're new here, and we really hope to have you part of this subreddit. But yeah, you don't always, as you've seen, and I've also seen more so on some of the hacking forums back in the day for console hacking. Some of them are pretty like elite, man. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that, especially for somebody
It
that's
was a
so
very sad day for me
yeah.
since I'm Marvel. I can get in there and I can see posts, but
Yeah.
I can't comment on anything. I can't post anything.
Oh
And
God.
sometimes I forget and I like see something really cool and I'm writing a reply and I was like, oh, I can't reply. This
That's
sucks.
sad, man. God, I'm sure that was a day that you probably dinner time was quiet. It's just, I don't have a lot to say today. So how far back? Because again, I found you after you were doing the transition into more
Yeah.
of the 3D printing stuff, and I think the stuff I was watching was a lot of the like originally the bigger helmet builds and things like that you were doing.
Yeah.
How long ago did you start doing the transition to more like more focused on 3D printing, whether it's like a review or whether it's a project you're doing on a 3D printer or post processing? How long ago was that? Was it about 2 years ago?
It was no, I was probably about 3 now. I think. I think I really started to focus on it when the CR10 came
Okay.
out.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Before then, I was doing a few videos here and there on the MakerBot Mini or projects that I had done on the MakerBot Mini.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was doing a weekly Xbox video for the
Nice.
Xbox subreddit. So I would
Yeah.
do like a here's the top 10 recap of what happened last
Yeah.
week in a video format.
Yep.
And I would put in a ton of effort in making those videos and get maybe a few hundred views at most on them. And then I
That's
do these.
sad.
All right, here's a quick build that I made on my MakerBot of this, and it would get like 1,000 views. And I'm like, why am I spending all this time making this content when I could be doing this? And
Yeah.
it taking, even though my audience was there for Xbox stuff,
Yeah.
I was getting more exposure
From the search
or
and algorithm
traction
and
from
Yeah.
all the 3D printing stuff. And then I went to New York. I work out of New York City a lot, so I
Uh-huh.
was in New York City and I visited Press Reset Preston,
Yeah.
and I was at his workshop at the time in Brooklyn, and he was like, "Oh man, let me show you this new machine that I just got." And he's like, "It's a Creality CR10," and he was like, "It's 500 bucks,
Yeah.
and it's this huge
Massive.
machine, and it's prints." He's like, "Check out this print. It looks really good, and it's super cheap." And I was like, "This
Yeah.
is insane!" I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "I needed that info." So it was like I
Yeah.
ordered that, and then that's really when I started. I was like, "Okay, I can now start making bigger props," because I
Yeah.
think I had a BQ Whitbox was another machine that I got prior to the CR10, and then a BQ Hephaestus 2. I don't know. So
I
two
don't
different
know.
3D printers that
Yeah.
they worked okay. They got the job done.
But they
But
were no CR10.
the CR10 was like the awakening for me of, oh my god, this is everything that I've hoped for and more when
Yeah.
it comes to making, replica helmets and props and all
Yeah.
this other stuff, because it's big enough to support all of these, and the print quality I was getting on those was just
Insane for
it
the price
it
tag.
blew my mind. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
price tag. The
It's
price tag.
ridiculous, man.
Everything else at the time was like 2 grand
Yep.
or more for something along the as like an Ultimaker, or an Ultimaker XL or whatever they're, I don't know
Yeah.
what they're called, but yeah,
They're smaller.
it was unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable.
There was definitely nothing because it changed the game. Like I mean I got into 3D printing probably about 6 years ago with DaVinci, which was it was a terrible printer. Like it was kind of like your MakerBot, I guess, mini experience where it was enough to show me that there was real potential here, and the idea of being able to like see this image and then a day or two later have like a kind of okay sort of version of it. It was enough to like get the wheels turning. But like in
Right.
all reality, comparing it to like what we now have, like an Ender 3 for $200, it was poo-poo. Like it was terrible.
I would have never. I still to this day it blows my mind that it's like you can get an Ender 3 for what, like 180 bucks, maybe
Yeah.
even less than that
Yeah,
sometimes.
if it's on
And
sale,
that
man.
machine prints so dang well.
It's
And
insane,
you just
man.
had Chuck on.
Yep.
That's his like bread and butter for
Yep.
his channel.
That's
I was
his
like,
baby,
anything he
man.
puts out about Ender 3, it's
Watch
like
it, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
50,000 views in one day or something
Yeah.
crazy.
No, it's insane, man.
There's a huge community behind it now, and it's
Yep.
because it's such a cheap machine, but it prints amazing. It's just a simple. It's not hard to
It's a
construct,
beast, man.
and it just works.
Yeah.
It's just a simple machine. It's great.
Oh, it's completely changed the game. It's funny, stemming back to what you had mentioned about putting all that time into a video and then having that video, like your Reddit one recap, right? And then having it only get a couple hundred views, and then doing a video that's like simpler and having it get so many more views. It sucks, dude, because it happens to me, like,
It's
it happens to me
frustrating.
all the time, man, where like I'll have an idea for a video, and like I love making the videos in general, and I love getting feedback, and I'm a huge tech head too, so like trying all the latest stuff and getting able to share my experience, I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. But I also occasionally have like, here's a project that like, man, this is going to be fun. This is going to be so great. And like, it costs a lot more money. It takes a lot more time and energy and effort. And it uploads and then just crickets, man.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
like right. There's like going back to like even mentioning with the whole you're syncing video thing. I made a YouTube video on how to install a mod menu on Grand Theft Auto 5 when it came to PC, just for fun, because I had to go to a forum and basically do some like do some reading, and like I was like, man, there's not a simple like just 5 6 minute video. This is not complex, but it makes it seem very complex. So I basically screen capped myself just doing that, and like 200 300,000 views later, dude. I'm like, are you serious? Like
It's
insane,
wild,
dude. Yeah, I'm like,
it's
why?
absolutely wild. I don't know, makes no sense sometimes. There's
No,
definitely videos that I start making and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a really good video. This is gonna like,
it's gonna be
it's gonna
sick.
blow up.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's got
no,
the viral
nothing. Or like,
potential.
yeah. What was crazy was like going back to that steering wheel, the
Uh
Xbox
huh.
steering wheel. So that
Yeah.
blew up on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I immediately reached out to the guy that made it and was like, "Hey, I want to make a video on this. Are you cool with this?" And so I made a video, linked to all of his files and all this, and he linked it on his on Thingiverse page and whatnot. And that video, it wasn't like that was an overly complex build. It was me
No.
printing the steering wheel and then showing how to attach it and then
Yeah.
how it works. And I did like a janky job of actually using it. I didn't have any of the steering settings
Yeah.
corrected in the game or anything like that. And it when I turned, the car wasn't turning like as smoothly as it should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it got like 1 million views and it blew
Insane,
up.
man.
It
It's
absolutely blew
yeah.
up. And I was going, how? I don't
Yeah.
understand some of these things.
I really enjoy listening. There's a couple of podcasts because I was traveling recently for work quite a bit, and so I downloaded some podcasts, and some of them were talking about the like algorithm, and I always like listening to people's theory on it because nobody really knows, dude. Nobody, like anyone that creates content, they've got their theories, and I've got my cousin's uncle's daddy's sister works at YouTube, or something, something like that,
Yeah.
and it's funny hearing, but it's just insane that you don't know. So like my thing is, keep creating content that you really enjoy. And again, like there's certain patterns you'll see that like, oh, these seem to do really well, but you just never know, man. You
I
just
mean,
don't.
I think Chuck's a perfect example, to be honest. He did. I follow Chuck a
Hmm.
lot. I love one. I love the content that makes, and then
Yeah.
two, what I love about, I don't know, I didn't listen to Chuck's interview, by the way.
Yeah.
I should have,
Yeah.
but what I love about Chuck is he records everything on his iPad
He's
and he
insane, dude.
edits
Edits
all
on his
his videos
iPad.
in
Yeah,
iMovie
dude.
on his
He's a
iPad.
beast, bro.
I love that. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. It's like, see, you don't need like $1,000 DSLR.
Nope.
You don't need all this crazy equipment.
Yeah,
Just
dude.
use what you got and
Yeah.
make some great content that you're passionate about.
Yep.
And it will end up working out as long as the content's there and people are
Consistent as
seeking
well.
it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
it's
it's
yeah.
wild. It's just it's a crazy thing. And I mean, for me, when I think about the algorithm, I don't necessarily think about it overtly, but I
Yeah.
am, since I'm in the cosplay area,
Sure.
I am always conscientiously, I'm trying to,
I know the word you're meaning.
consciously
Yeah. Yeah.
consciously
Yeah.
thinking of it's like here, I know this movie's coming out,
Yep.
or I don't know, this comic's going to be big,
Yep.
or Cyberpunk is coming out soon.
Yep. It's gonna be
So
badass.
actually,
I
no,
hope.
I think I got delayed till the fall, but
Yeah. It's somewhere
uh,
coming out. Yeah.
yeah, it's somewhere this year. But it's like, all right, so I should try and start building some content around those,
Yep.
because in theory, what will happen is someone's Googling the next Batman movie and they see me 3D printing the mask from the
Yep.
movie.
And they'll be
That sort of.
interested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strategic placement. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
exactly. I mean, and in a lot of cases for me, it aligns with what I'm interested in, because it's making helmets and whatnot. I'm always interested in those things.
yeah.
But that's how, at least for me, that's how I try to time up and hope that it meets some of the algorithm needs. But
Yeah.
you never know. Like, you never know. Like I have a video on I think it was the Black Panther helmet that I made, has like 1 million views, but
killer.
it didn't
Yeah.
get a lot of views. It didn't get a lot of views when I initially posted it. It wasn't until like the movie came out on DVD or something like that
Interesting.
that it took off. And I
Yeah.
don't know why, but I can only
You're like, I'll
assume.
take
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, it just
Yeah.
kind of blew up from there. So you
That's
never
insane,
know
man.
what's going to reignite something that you might have already created a video on as well, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Well, I mean, it's exciting to know that the initial, because like I mean, usually you get like a certain amount of initial uptick, but then it goes into the system, and then whatever happens. But it's cool knowing that like, hey man, just because it didn't do so great right now, maybe at some point it will, it'll take off or something like that. So yeah, that's rad. Let's see. Favorite cosplay you've done, and I feel like it's got to be the Magneto.
Oh man, it's easily the Magneto.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Like,
gotta be, dude. It's
there's
like
like
it's your
there's
thumbnail. You got posts of
that
it with
that
Adam
was that's
Savage.
been my dream. That no joke has been my dream cosplay for years now. I think I posted on Twitter not too long ago, or maybe it was Instagram. My very first attempt at doing a cosplay project, or a replica prop project, I tried to make a Magneto helmet. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know that there was like the RPF forum. I didn't know about Pepicura
Yeah.
or anything like that. I got some chicken wire from an arts and crafts store, and I got modeling clay, and I was like, all right, I'm going to use the wire to shape it around my head like a helmet, and then I'm going to put the clay over it and try and model it to that. It did not work whatsoever. So there's some really goofy pictures of me with like a sleeveless shirt on when my
I
wife and I lived
actually
in New York
just
City.
saw it. It was like 10 years. You said 10 years ago, right, or something like that. It was yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's so funny, man.
So,
That's
but yeah,
insane.
I've been dying to have a Magneto helmet for a long time, and I mean like that style, the Jim Lee
Yeah,
style
badass
Magneto
looking.
helmet, and yeah, that's easily my favorite cosplay that I've done so far. Not that I've done a lot of them, but
Yeah,
it's my favorite one by far. So.
yeah. It's insane. Who was it? One specific person that made most of the stuff for it, like as far as the models go, or no? Was it different pieces you pieced together?
Yeah, the helmet was actually I had that commissioned by Colonius,
Okay.
who's sort of well known with making replica helmets. Actually, this is his Black Mask
Oh,
helmet
sick,
here,
man. Yeah.
recently printed, and so there he's got like a whole crew now at Villainous Props that they make different replica prop files, a lot of helmet files,
It's
and
awesome.
then the actual body armor was I'm apologies, I am
No worries.
forgetting
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dude's
It's tough to
dude's
remember.
name, and I should totally have remembered that. I'll have to find it and
Yeah, no
mention it. But
worries.
yeah, yeah, there was a gentleman that I think someone tagged me. He had designed I think it was the gauntlets, and someone had tagged me on Instagram. Was like, Uncle Jesse, you need to check this out. I know you're a big Magneto fan. I was like, I need those files.
Yeah.
And then I was talking with him. I was like, hey, would you actually be up for trying to model some of the other components, like the belt and then the boots and then the neck piece? So he ended up modeling all of those for
Badass,
me.
man.
And just did an absolutely amazing job on all of those. And what was fun with that project as well is I ended up using my iPhone and Scandy Pro, which is that's like a 3D.
Your head, right?
Yeah.
I
So I
saw
did
that,
my
man.
head for getting my head, but I
Uh
also
huh.
scanned my arm so that I could scale the armor
Oh,
pieces.
nice around
Or
it.
when he made the boot files, if you go on Etsy and end up buying the boot files from him, those are based off of my leg scan. So I scanned my leg, and he made those so that they specifically fit to my legs,
Freaking
which is
awesome, man.
crazy. I am gonna go crazy here if I don't give this Wolf Wowa. That's what it was.
Okay.
Wolf Wowa. So he's a relatively unknown dude on the Instagrams, but he is a
Insane.
absolute badass modeler. And actually, I think I should have links. I have one of my videos, should have a Magneto video up there
Yeah.
about for Comic Con, has links to his Etsy and Instagram and all that good stuff where you can
I'll
find him if you're interested in modeling.
once this video does post because it'll like archive. I'll try in the comment or in the description to put it down there that to give him some cred
Oh,
for that. So yeah, I always like again like there's so many people that are like non-discovered, if you will, but like they're so freaking talented. They deserve so much traffic and traction and like like praise for the stuff that they do. It's
yeah.
insane, man.
It's ridiculous how many talented, like just unbelievably talented people there are out there,
Yeah,
and
it's
some
awesome,
of the
man.
things that I had no idea were even possible. People whipping out things in no time, which is
Yeah,
just
it's wicked
still
cool,
blows my
man.
mind. Yeah.
So I definitely have quite a few more questions, but we're getting to like 53, 54 minutes in. So I'll do one more question if you're cool with it, and then we can do like a little bit of Q&A before we kind of like close this segment. Is that fine?
Yeah, actually, and I have a question for you as well
Yeah.
before we go.
Oh, okay, cool, man. All right. Do you want to go next, or do you want me to go mine
Yeah,
next?
let me ask you. So,
Sure.
what do you think about that big machine behind you, the Phenom?
Oh, can you see it? Am I? That's so funny that. So I actually, this phenom has not been used. Period yet. It's actually I haven't gotten a chance to use it. So this phenom was the one that went up to make for the make review, like on Adam's or tested. I'm sorry.
Oh,
On
wow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
this is the initial tested unit, and it is sort of a early beta ish, like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
full release model. So I got it a few. Well, actually, I probably got it about a month and a half ago in because I it was local and I had reached out and said, hey, I'd love to do some printing on this thing, man. Like it's this behemoth of a machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got it. The issue with it was that the LCD screen needed to be replaced on it because it had gone through
Oh,
its
yeah.
life on it, and I was waiting on them to send a replacement, but things happened, and then the coronavirus. They went on,
Yeah.
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 So they went on Chinese
So,
New Year, which was I was expected. So when that was done, that was when I was supposed to get one sent. And then the coronavirus delayed. Yeah. So
did everything, and
dude,
they're
this
they're backed up right now
they're
until
backed up
like
right.
another week or
Yeah.
two, I think. So,
So I got confirmation that there is an LCD screen that is going to be on its way to me. But I'm leaving. I mentioned to you I'm going on a trip as well, so it'll be a
yeah.
while. Right now, it's basically been a great storage unit and taking up a huge portion of my room.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I've got one.
but
I've got one sitting right
oh, do
here,
you? That's so
taking up
funny.
a portion of
I,
my desk here,
I
dude.
didn't even realize that it was viewable in camp. I was like, "How do you know I have a phenom? I haven't made a single poster." Like, you scared, dude.
You know
You
what's funny
freaked
is
me
I was
out.
like, I don't remember him posting anything
No,
about the
dude, I
Phenom
didn't
yet.
at all, man. Because I was waiting until I actually got a chance to use it. I basically got it home, turned it on, ran the LCD screen, was like, there's heat spots, it needs to be replaced, and then I will tell you that one of the prints that I plan on doing on it is a pretty much not full size but close to Majora's Mask. That is something that I want to print
Nice.
on it. So
That'll
I'm
be
really
awesome.
excited, man, and I'd
You're
like
gonna love
to.
it, man. This machine's it's awesome.
I'm
It's
really
awesome.
excited. I've heard really great things about the quality, and I've been drooling over some of the people that got them early on, and even your prints, like seeing and also it was Tom Jackson I think got one or no, it was
Hmm?
Maker Noob got one as well and was posting some insanely
Oh
detailed.
yeah.
And pretty much everybody that's got one has been posting these, and like resin printing is so insane for the level of detail. I mean, you've seen it, you've like as of lately, and that's actually it's funny because my last question revolves around resin printing because you've kind of become over the last like 6 months here like a guru for a lot of the resin printing that's up and coming and like testing it out and giving feedback, and especially because since I work with like 3D printing for my day job, a lot of the bigger ones are definitely aimed for people doing a lot of the stuff that you're doing, like cosplay
Yeah.
stuff, prop making for whether it's sets or whatever. So they're definitely becoming more and more available, and the prices, like we saw with going from the MakerBot Mini to the CR10 for $500, like it's so cool because the
It's
accessibility,
amazing.
man. I love it. I love it. Like
I mean, even right now, I mean, obviously, like the El Gumars
yeah,
is there's the El Gumars, the Anycubic Photon. There's the
EPACs, like
longer, yeah.
yeah.
There's like the EPACs, yeah.
Yep.
There's a number of these guys now that have resin printers for around 200 to $300.
Yeah.
That's a sweet spot. I mean,
That's
they're not
awesome, man.
huge,
No.
but there's it's for like the D&D
Oh,
community, for
dude.
anybody looking to make figure or
Tabletop is
smaller
sick,
props, or
man.
like the details of like some of the intricacies of weapons that you might want to print
Yep.
out and then do the rest in FDM. It's such an amazing tool, and it's amazing to see that the prices have dropped drastically. I mean, that to me was like I got just got so excited about
Yeah,
how
man.
easy these machines are getting to work with. It really does remind me about the CR10
Yep.
days of things,
Yep.
which wasn't that long ago.
No,
It's
man.
sort of like a resin revolution
It's
here
so exciting,
of
man.
3D printing.
Yeah.
It's an evolution of the tech, and to me, it's like I'm excited. It's
Oh, your mic cut out. Oh, you're
I hit
back.
the mute button. I hit the mute
Dude,
button.
the Yeti, I've done that with my pop filter before, dude. Yeah, that was like what happened.
So I mean, going through this evolution of starting with Pepicura
Yeah,
and then going to FDM printing, and I won't lie, I'm like all in
on the
on
resin
resin
stuff, right? Yeah,
printing.
yeah.
I like most of anything that I'm printing these days is in resin. I
Yep.
still use my CR10 heavily. I mean, for any other builds, but I mean, I'm telling you, I'm loving the resin printers these days. It's just
Well,
amazing.
even the one thing that's cool is too, because other things too, like getting into it. When I first got into FDM 3D printing, there was like PLA and ABS, and the price per kilogram was at a certain amount. Now you can get, sub $20, $15 kilograms, even less if it's on sale some places. The resin's doing the same thing, man. Like when I was looking at it, I was like, oh god, like close to $100 for a liter. But then you've got companies like Soraya Tech that's got their fast resin. We're talking 30
Nuts.
bucks. It's for a liter. That's insane, man.
So I can remember one of my first resin printers was the Peopoli Moai,
Mm-hmm.
which was like a year or two ago, 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
the
I
laser
was
based
paying,
solar.
yeah, was paying $80 for resin. I
Yep.
think off of Amazon or Matter Hackers, whatever. And
Yep.
then now it's like you said, yeah, it's you can get resin for like 40 bucks,
It's
or
awesome, man.
it's continually dropping. And
Yep.
now I used to pay, I can remember starting printing with 3D printing and buying PLA that was like 40 or $50, and now it's like $10, 10 to
Yeah.
20 bucks people are paying.
It's
I mean, it
insane.
all depends on the what you're
Manufacturer and
buying with,
stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure, qualities and all this other fun stuff that goes into it. But it's we're gonna see the same things with resin, which is
Yep.
exciting.
Which is what I'm pumped for. When people ask me about it, I kind of say that, like how you mentioned too, that you said it's like the resin revolution. It feels very much like that to me. It's like now that it's at this price point, there's a lot more people that are like you or me that are maybe not like professional and like in the industry with it, but like we just hobbyists, a lot of guys that like to play around
Okay.
and make things. And so now that there's so much more people, and we also have a very different need than a lot of like the enterprise level people that want like, oh, it's got to be these certain qualities and characteristics. And
Yeah.
so that's what we're starting to see also more and more unique resins coming out. And so like having like now the like again going back to Rytech, because I'm a huge fan, like the blue resins for like if I ever need like a tougher application, or if I
Right.
like I got to play with the Tenacious, which was bizarre, dude. Like a little bit of flexible in the resin. Like it's so cool seeing like this kind of like from caveman to a civilized
Yeah.
technology.
And you can even mix them. You can mix and
Yeah,
match some of these. So you can add a little bit of blue if you need a little bit more
dude.
rigidity to
Yeah,
some of
man.
your prints. It's pretty cool thing that you've got. And it's the other thing, I mean, for me, it's all about when I get a printer, I don't want to spend any time futzing around with it.
Yeah,
I want to get it set up
and
and
just
I
go.
want to get printing with it. I
Yep.
don't want to spend 8 hours doing an assembly. And most of these resin printers, it's you take it out of the box, you get
One
it
level.
level. Some of them even come level,
Yep.
and then you just pour resin in and start
No,
printing.
it's a complete when sometimes people ask me like how to get started and I explain the process, they're like, what else do I have to do? And I'm like, no, that's it. That's
it.
it. Like you're off to the races, man. So, cool. Well, we'll get towards Q&A here because actually you pretty much answered the question I was going to ask you was, now that you've done so much with the resin 3D printing, how much FDM are you truly doing? And you answered that by saying,
It's still there. I'm still
yeah,
doing it. But it's I at this point it's like mostly for Etsy stuff or
yep,
for other random one-off projects.
yeah,
Almost everything I'm doing is now in resin, and I
yeah,
love
which
it.
is freaking
Absolutely
awesome.
love it. Yeah.
I still when people ask me because there's quite a few people that ask me like, oh, is resin gonna overtake FDM or is it gonna I don't think FDM to me is not going
No.
anywhere, man. It's to me it's
Yeah.
two different things. Like how you mentioned, they complement each other very well. There's different use cases. When I need something like for a detailed mini or something that needs very high smooth precision, like I printed out replacement Joy-Con buttons for the Switch that I custom resin printed. It was great for stuff like that. But then you've got like, if I wanted to do like my untitled goose that I printed out that was
I know, I saw that. I saw
like,
your video on
no
that.
way in hell would I do I mean that's
No.
that's a terrible example, but even like okay, so when I printed out the
No, it's a great but that's a great example because the cost of that and filament
yeah
is next to nothing compared
Yes.
to if you were to do that same size. Let's say you had a resin printer
Yeah.
that could print that same size as the goose.
Yeah.
That would have cost you like
hell of a lot
easily
more.
$100 in
Yeah.
resin.
Yeah,
or-
way expensive. And then even like again for like the laser, I'm using for the mounts that hold the whole exhaust. There's no need to resin print that. I was able to print that in PETG for $4
Yeah.
versus it just. But so there's different use cases, but the access to the technology and knowing like when it makes sense to use it, I really like it for. And like one thing I plan on doing, which I want to ask. There's so many questions I didn't get to. I'm like,
Dude,
kind
go
of
for it.
bummed.
Go for it, man. I'm here. Whatever we need. Let's roll through them, man.
Okay. So the one let's no, you know what? No, dude. No, let's do some Q&A for people that have been hanging out if anyone wants to ask questions.
Cool.
And then let's see. So, yeah, anybody that's in chat, if you guys have any questions for myself, Uncle Jesse, whether it's regarding something we talked about or just something random or curious that you might want to know, now is the time to ask. We'll do Q&A for like the next 10 or 15 minutes here, and then based off of if there isn't a lot of questions, then maybe I'll ask you a couple of questions real quick here. But I understand too that it is late, and it also leaves time for potentially a part 2 in the future, man. So
There you go. That's right. That's right.
I wasn't
Do a
expecting. Yeah, I wasn't expecting things to roll quite so easily here. But regarding regarding some of the resin stuff, like one of the things that I would like to get into a little bit here is playing around with a little bit of silicone molds and resin casting. Like that's something that for smaller things, like there's you must know her, and I'm this is me blanking on names like you did, so I don't feel as bad. There's a girl that's in the cosplay community that's friends with like Amy and them, and she does.
Stephanie.
The dice, dude.
Yeah.
Stephanie's right. I think that's their name. That sounds right. But she goes. Like,
Yeah,
she's got her
Steph Sharp.
handle. Yeah. Her resin prints, like those dice, like there's things like that where I've got a couple ideas for these like portable consoles that are like handheld emulator things that I want to be able to cast quickly parts for. To me, that's awesome. And seeing her like just gorgeous, glittery galaxy.
I know those are unbelievable. I print a lot of D&D figures just because I think they're cool for videos and projects. I don't play it at all.
Yeah,
but I'm like, I want some of those dice just because they look amazing.
Well, it's funny because like in 3D printing they've got posts that you'll see like first layer porn, which is like the perfect first layer. But for that to me, it's like like resin porn. I see that and I'm like, I don't know why, but I am a super I'm so pumped on this little dice, dude. It's
and was
insane,
it
man.
Tom? Was it Tom? Who was it that was doing the resin and then all the different color resin, the dye?
Oh, dude, yeah. I'm blanking on his name, but I saw they did one where it was like the dragon with like the butterfly wings, and it was like in a hue of different. It's the alcohol dyes, the alcohol-based inks or whatever, right? Where they put them in the vat, and it allows you to print in like a grid. Do you have a photo, or do you have one printed?
No, I've got some Ceratec resin dye that exploded in the bag.
Oh no. Yeah,
but I've got red, and I think this was blue, and then I don't know where the other two bottles went that was in here, but yeah, it's one of the colors kind of exploded. But I was gonna play around with that, but I haven't got around to it yet.
Yeah, but that stuff has been awesome seeing people playing around with that here. Okay, so I do see we got a couple questions. Travis from Pyro Design has been hanging out and he's leaving for the night. Hey, I saw your messages earlier or your chat. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I miss seeing all of your content, man. I really hope I saw you commented earlier saying, "Man, watching you guys makes me want to make videos again." I really hope that you do, man, because I miss all of your logos to life and just all the awesome printing
He did some
and
amazing
oh,
stuff.
dude, insane the level
Still
of
does. I,
detail.
have you seen? And he's now like a TikTok
The
star.
spinner, yeah, dude,
He's like a
yeah,
TikTok star. He's
yeah. I
got like
saw.
100,000 subscribers or
Yep,
something like that on TikTok.
I saw him post on there. At what point are you considered TikTok famous or something like that?
That's right.
So yeah, I definitely thank you very much for hanging out, and I don't know if I'll talk to you about this a little later, but I hope that you're going to Murph maybe next month because I will be there. So anyways, we got a couple of questions that let's see. So the first one is directed towards you, and this person, which I'm actually curious about. He said love you guys, love you Travis. So he's asking about the Prusa Mini, which I'm actually really curious about. Well, so you've had this for a bit now. Was your version, was it a beta or no? I don't remember in your video whether you said it was beta.
No, it wasn't.
Okay,
It was I bought it within like the first 10 minutes
Oh
that the
Jesus.
post went live on. I was like,
Yeah.
this is what I've been waiting for.
Yep.
I'm buying this. I'm
Yeah.
like, I am buying this. It's a great price point.
Yep.
The other Prushas were just a little bit out of my range of
Yep.
something that I was like, I couldn't justify when I have a CR10 that can
Yep.
print at a bigger volume than that,
Yep.
investing in a Prusa. And so that mini was like a perfect price point for me. But yeah, it was one of the first off the official lot there, so to speak. Yeah.
So I wanted to know as well. So I saw your video on it, and I saw also
Yep.
the compilation somebody did where they took like every time you said, was it the word so?
Really?
Oh, really?
That was really,
That was
really.
so funny, dude. Oh my god. I used to
Cracked
say,
me up.
oh, dude, it was so good.
Oh my god, it's so great.
I say one of the things I say is like as like a pause, and I hate it, and like someone called me out on it, so I try to like cut it out or make a mental note. But seeing that, it's funny when you make a video like how you say something like the word awesome. I said one time in a video like way too many times, like holy shit.
I
Like,
do that all the time.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I do not, just for anybody that's interested in background information, when I go to make a video, I do not script out any of my videos. I have a rough idea of what I want to record, what I want to say. That's about it. At most, I'll have some notes
Bullet
on
points
like
is what
what's
I'll
the
do.
price of the machine, what's the build volume.
Yeah. What's the name of
that's
it? In case you
Yeah,
forgot.
exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do the same thing. I've tried scripting I think once or twice too because I was just experimenting with things and it doesn't feel organic to me, man. It just like I'd
For
rather
me in my process, it definitely does. I think it works great for some other content creators.
Tom Sandlander or whatever. Oh, dude, that guy. I watch his content. I'm like, I'm not worthy, but like,
I know.
this is scripted.
I can't. Like, if I did that, I'd be okay. So we are going to be unboxing today. I've been stumbling my words.
Yeah.
It would just be bad. It would be bad.
Your subscriber base would probably drop if they're like, man, this guy needs to learn how to read better.
What I'm envious of his is I'm assuming what that means is that he spent the upfront time pre-scripting it out, that he's able to take one or two, maybe three takes for some of his parts that he's talking through, and then edit together. Like the editing process should be pretty straightforward. Me, on the other hand, there's like 20 takes of the intro before I found one that I liked, or I kept screwing it up or calling it the wrong name. I've definitely done that. Or I'm editing the video and I was like, oh my god, I completely said the wrong thing and I had to like put back on my shirt and go back.
That's so funny, dude.
All right, we're gonna pretend that I didn't just do that.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, that's super. Yeah, that's very relatable to me. And I also have multiple takes saying the wrong thing. Like, luckily now when I record, it's here and my monitor's here. So if there's like sometimes the products I review have really like tongue twister names, and so like I'll quickly look to the right and be like, okay, like the latest board I did for the Ender was like the BQ SKR Mini V 1.2 da 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 da, and I'm like, holy shit, like say that 3 times fast, you know. But okay, anyway, sorry, backtracking to his question about the Prusa Mini. Since the video was put out about a month ago or so, how has it been working out? I've heard from people I know that have it that there was an issue with something to do with like one of the cables being too short on some of the versions. Have you experienced that, or how? What's your experience been like with it since then?
The fun question someone's asking there. Yeah, mine's been sitting collecting dust.
Gotcha.
So I've been waiting for an official update on uh, fixes for that machine. So I have had pretty much nothing but issues with it since making that video, where
Oh
I'm
God.
constantly getting filament jams, which sounds like there is online in their community. There's some suggestions on how to resolve that. And then I'm also having an issue with the gantry not being level, which I wasn't quite sure. But when I go and do my auto bed leveling, you can visibly see that one side is flush, and
Oh,
then
the
the
other side's
other is
slightly
like
skew.
it like lifts up. So
Jesus.
then
Yeah.
I try to adjust it so that it's lower on, like I try to make it so that the head's lower.
Yeah.
Well, then that one side's nice and flat, but the other side is like scraping the bed. So
Jesus.
yeah,
There's
it's
been issues.
one. Yeah, to say I've been disappointed with it is a bit of an understatement.
Gotcha.
I am
That's
waiting.
unfortunate.
I have debated on making a video
Yeah.
more than a few times over the
Yep.
past few weeks over this, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait until there's an official update on this.
Yeah.
I know they're working on it, so before I know I trust the Prusa team that they're
Yeah.
gonna
Make it right.
to sort this out. Yeah.
Yep.
Before it's frustrating to me that it's a Prusa machine. I
Yep.
was buying what I didn't think was a beta unit
Yep.
that they had already. I knew there were already beta units out there. They
Yep.
would have
I've seen
had
the
all the
early
kinks
testers.
out.
Yep.
Yeah, kinks worked out of it. And that I'm having a more difficult time with this machine
In the
than
reality.
one of the no-name printers that I not reviewed, but did a first look at. It's sort of like an Ep.3.
Yep.
That's $200, a larger print volume, and just flat out works right out of the box versus this that I'm struggling with. And I like I've mentioned throughout this talk here, I don't want to mess around with.
No.
It's like I don't have time to futz around with printers. So
Yeah.
if it's not working, it sits in the other room and just
Gotcha.
collects dust until I typically hand it off to somebody
I
else.
yeah, well, because so you had mentioned, which is it's funny because when I've talked to a lot of other content creators, especially ones that are involved with 3D printing, that most of them own like a Mark II, Mark IIs, Mark III, Mark IIIs, one of the two, three. I've had I don't have a count, but a ridiculous amount of printers come through my hands, and ones I purchased, ones I've been sent to review,
Yeah.
and I've never pulled the trigger on a Prusa. I've been very, very close, but it always comes down to the same thing that you mentioned: is that what does my machine really do that I can justify spending $800 that I cannot do, on one of these lower, and it usually comes down to, there's really nothing. Like there's really not. And so the Prusa Mini was in that ballpark as well, and it still actually is in that new, like, okay, you're gonna get one at some point, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But the reason I'd be getting it would be to have a machine that I never need to do all these mods that I do to, which I enjoy the modding. I do,
Exactly.
But the Prusa for me,
Yeah.
when I'm getting that, this thing needs to be set it, and as long as I'm using his slicer, his profiles, and his things, it just freaking works, man.
That's honestly what I was expecting
Yeah.
with the unit. I mean, I've seen nothing but amazing posts and prints after prints from people with their other Prusa machines, and that's what I felt like I would be getting with this, and it flat out is not.
Wasn't the case.
It like this thing chews and eats up filament like no other machine that
Jeez,
I
man.
have.
That
It
sucks.
sucks.
I'm really sorry to hear that,
Dude,
man.
it
Because this
sucks.
is, again,
And
I've seen things.
but honestly, more than anything, I know that they announced that they're working on a larger CR10 style print volume
Yep.
Prusa machine. At this point, it's like I'm completely turned off, and I'm like, I'm not going to get that
Yeah.
until like a year after it's already been out, and
Yeah.
someone else can deal with all of
Beta
these
testing and bugs and hiccups and stuff like that.
I mean,
Yeah.
if anything, give me the heads up that we're, it's going to need further testing, or I don't know. What I struggle with is I haven't had these same sort of issues with other machines that are like nowhere near the recognition or quality control that I would assume the Prusa team has, versus some of these smaller no-name companies out of China that are sending machines over. But those are working really dang well compared to the Mini.
And based off what you said, this machine, you purchased it as just a regular consumer, right? It was not like
Yeah,
you did.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
So,
no,
so this
yeah,
is the
no.
experience that anybody that bought the machine is having or would have had,
Yeah.
in your shoes. It isn't like,
Yeah.
they knew that you
And
were a
by the way,
reviewer.
I would say that I have reached out to like Proofs of Support, and
Yeah,
they've been great
yeah,
with linking me to like here's the community and here's guides that we recommend you try out. But
yeah,
there's
for sure.
not, to me, I'm waiting on here are the official. Here is what you need to do for if you're previously a mini owner. Here are the
Yep.
official things, and then that's where I want to do a follow up. Not all right. I've done this. Joey D over here on the forum recommended this, and
Yeah.
then Joey C over here recommended I try this, and
Yep.
here's what worked for me.
You want
Yeah.
like official, hey, this is what we
Yeah.
have seen is a problematic. This is what we've done to resolve it. If you do these things, you will be fine. Like, yeah, you want like official. Yeah. Which is, and
And I mean,
again,
I trust that they're going to sort this out
sure, yeah.
because I
It's who
mean
they
I've
are.
seen
It is
yeah
who they are.
they've
Yeah.
worked through other issues with their other machines,
Yeah.
and again I know it will have a good print quality with it. That machine for me was like going to be my dedicated Etsy order
Yeah.
fulfilling machine.
Which is
So
honestly what mine would be too. I used to sell a lot of stuff on like eBay and Etsy as well, and I mean I've got all these different machines that I use, and I've used Crealities before for it, and it works great. But I just figured, hey, if there's one item that can be bought, be consistent, have a couple of them on a rack, and just know that, hey, order came in, I hit print, it's a guarantee this thing is coming out, So yeah, I know, I get it. And again, not to be like a rant sesh on the
no,
bad,
no.
but it's the reality of your experience, and like that's valuable. Like people should know that, hey, there has been some problems with this, and again, hopefully they make it right, and I'm sure they will make it right. But it's not,
I'm,
it's
I'm confident they will. It's just
yeah,
it's again for me it's been a bit of a
let down.
disappointment more than anything. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so a couple more questions. It's dragging out again. If it just gets to a point while we're doing the questions, you just tell me, man, you're 3 hours ahead of me. So it's 8:30.
I'm done. See ya.
Yeah, signing off. Okay, so the other question I got here comes from NLTMW, which says, how long are you UV curing parts for typically? Which I'll give my 2 cents on this, and I'll let you, because you've done at least as much, if not more, UV curing. I would say from my end, I've first off used multiple sources. I'm here in sunny Southern California, and so I started off with just putting them in my windowsill, and it worked relatively well. And I thought that I was, things were fine. But as I got a little bit more involved, I was like, I need something that's a bit more consistent. So I made a video where I built a paint can lined UV LED setup, which worked pretty well for a bit, but then the cheap LEDs burned out on me. And so what I've been using as of lately, which to me has been a really good setup, is actually hold on, let me see if I can grab this. I made a video on it, but this guy is, I don't know how well you guys can see it. Can you see this? I can't really see.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this is basically the Peopoly UV
UV light
thing they sell. Yeah, and then I laser cut this box out, lined it with foil tape, and I just, well, again, this wouldn't work with phenom prints, but for all the elegant prints, I just set it on top of the print, I turn it on, and I leave it in there for honestly 5 minutes, man. like it's a 5 minute to maybe 10 minute tops, and the prints are pretty damn consistently good. The issues I've seen with overcuring is that they can get suntans depending on the resin, and two, they actually, some of them will start to deteriorate and break down from their, like, they hit like their peak and then they start to go negatively. So for me, it's very quick. I would say no more than 10-ish minutes on average with this light. That's very, very, very direct. But what is I don't know, what are you using currently?
I have a metal bucket that I picked up from Home Depot or something like that, and then lined it with UV lights, and then I also have one of those Peopoly UV lights, and I position it on top of the bucket, and then I put my prints inside of it, and I don't have like a thing. I know some people have these like devices,
turntable?
a lazy turntable.
Yeah.
I throw it in the bucket.
Yeah.
And I've got the UV light. Maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'll turn it. I'll typically like reposition them so it gets the other sides.
Gotcha.
I mean, I have in some cases left it overnight with the UV
Have you really?
light on.
Holy
yeah,
shit,
and
man.
it's been fine.
Okay.
And then I also have in my bucket right now, I have these miniature skull heads that have been sitting in there for 3 months now, I think.
Wow.
And whatever I end up curing, those skulls are still in there,
Yeah.
getting cured, over cured, and
Is
over
it an
cured, and over
experiment?
cured.
Is this kind of an experiment that you have?
Well, I just wanted to see like what would happen with
Yeah.
these over time, and
Yeah.
it's so far nothing.
Interesting.
And it's like Ceratech Fast, I think what they were printed in, so it's
Gotcha. Yeah.
nothing. They haven't like broken down or
That's
gotten really
crazy.
brittle or anything like that. So and then depending on the time of the year, like this summer, I was sticking prints directly outside in the
Yeah.
sun. That worked so well on really sunny days.
Yeah.
That actually worked really great for me. So I'd have a big piece of cardboard and I'd set them out
Lay
there in
them
the
out.
sun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, the one thing I have seen, which it wasn't with Ceratech resin, but I used another resin that was a white resin, and if I
Oh,
left it in too long, it's suntanned, man.
oh,
Like it
oh yeah.
totally
It
suntanned.
if you have white or is it clear? Well, I think clear starts to yellow.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, it's like it starts to almost. Yeah,
Haze and like change tone. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I
So
know some people also will cure their resin prints inside water as well. That should help with some
some of
of
the
that.
fogginess, right?
I,
It's
yeah, I
yeah.
don't. Um, for the most part, I'm painting over everything. I either leave it as the raw print or I'm painting over it for the most part. So I
Yeah.
don't
Not that
really
big of
rely
a
on
deal.
that. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so that's yeah, so pretty similar, I guess. Then like 10 to 15 minutes, I would say is you're typically fine. And then again, if you need to flip it, that's another thing as well. Most of the time, I have them like standing up and with the foil tape and kind of like how I have it set up, it seems to work fine. But you'll know, like I mean, you feel it, and if it still feels kind of gummy to it, then I know that hey, it's not quite there yet. Let me see here. I know that. Let's see. That's when he left. I do the same report. Hey, what's up? Is that when you do the longer? Oh, it says Greg says that he did get the updated version of the mini, and that you need to loosen the longer screw to fix that. It looks like
Nice.
he was saying as well that his mini came out of the box put together with no problems. He think it prints faster, and some prints are better than even his MK3. So maybe they have changed some
Nice.
stuff. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's
Well,
always a
I
chance.
know there are. Yeah, I know there's some people. I've seen some behind scene stuff of some updates that are coming for it.
Yeah,
That some it sounds like some additional printed parts or components that will be available for it soon. So again, sort of just waiting for an official. Here are the steps you should take if you purchased this previously to adjust this. And I know it's like the probe. Some people were suggesting you need to adjust the probe for some of these things,
yeah.
but yeah,
Just
I'll see how it'll get sorted at some point here.
well, I look forward to seeing what your update is when it does come out. Whether it's we got this bad boy up and running and she's a racehorse again, or she's we had to put her down.
If you're in the Rochester area, let me know. I have been slowly but surely giving away lots of not resin 3D printers, lots of 3D printers over the last handful of months.
Oh,
So,
jeez, yeah, man. Well,
yeah.
I think that probably we could probably wrap it with that. I mean, there's definitely chat going on, but I think that covered kind of the two
Cool.
main big questions here. Well, everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. And again, I know it's literally 12:30 where you're at, man. You're insane, dude. I mean, I used to play a lot of video games really
It's
late.
11:30.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. Okay,
It's 11:30.
yeah. Okay,
I'll
you're
be up
right.
for at least another hour. I'll get off this and go on my Xbox and play some video games before I go to bed.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I used to do that a lot, but I've sort of ever since like 2 years ago when me and my girlfriend moved into an apartment. She's like super old lady, like 9 o'clock, like starts stretching, and if I start watching a show with her, I go to bed really early. But before, when it was like, okay, girlfriend's asleep, like get on Discord, all the buddies, like let's play some like PUBG or whatever the hell we were playing back then. But
I'm 40 years old, and that's my routine. All of a sudden,
dude,
texting my buddies like, "All right, man, let's get online. Let's
freaking
shoot
awesome,
some
man.
people."
That's freaking awesome. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 3 of Maker's Minute. Again, Uncle Jesse, thank you so much for being
Oh,
our
thank you.
guest.
Yeah,
I had a blast, dude. Like,
I
this
had a
is
great time.
actually, believe it or not, this is the first time that we've had a conversation other than like a little Twitter thing. And yeah, this was freaking
It was great.
awesome. I had such a
I loved
blast.
it, man. It was a lot of fun.
So this, I will, everyone, I'm sure everyone that's in chat right now is following you guys. If you're not, go to his YouTube channel is in the description of this video. Anyone that's watching the archived version of this, and this will also, if you missed it or you just want the audio, within 24 hours, this will be on iTunes, the podcast. It'll be on Google Play. It'll be on Spotify. So it also will be on all major podcast platforms as well, which is awesome. Like I that's kind of the goal, is that you can listen to it on your commute or something like that if you want to. So yeah, thank you guys again for tuning in, and I'll let
Appreciate
you, if you
having
want
me
to say if I don't know if you want to say night to everybody as well or type thing, but
No, thanks everybody for sitting in and listening in to us ramble on about a whole lot of nothing.
yeah. Yeah, we appreciate all
It's been
of
a
you guys.
blast.
So
It's been a lot of
anyway,
fun.
have a great night, guys, and have a great rest of your week.